At the Jade Pavilion, Lady Jokuyo summons Maomao to look at her mirror. She asks Maomao what it is made of, to which Maomao replies glass, Jokuyo confirming. Maomao ponders on how expensive it is as you are only able to get it from the West through trade. Maomao thinks about how much trouble she would be in if she was to break it. Maomao is told of how Yinghua broke the last one, and Yinghua doesn't want to be reminded of it. Maomao then ponders how even tempered a person Lady Gyokuyo is with gladness. Maomao then begins to stare at her reflection in the mirror, which causes Yinghua to ask if she is interested in it. Maomao responds in wonder as to how it works, thinking along the lines of mass production domestically, noting how they can make a lot of money from it, to which Yinghua agrees. It is then made known of how it is a gift from the foreign special envoy. Maomao is reminded of the previous conversation she had with the quack doctor, mentioning something like that of a large-scale caravan. Yinghao states one was given to all of the high-ranking concubines, to which she was told not to phrase it like that. We then see it is made known that there are 4 high-ranking concubines. Maomao thinks to herself how bringing 4 giant mirrors like this must have been hard weather by desert or sea. Starting that for them to do such things would probably mean a big business deal with their nation. The scene then shifts to Gao Shun, asking Maomao for a moment of her time, to which he would like her opinion on a matter. He then asks Lady Hongyang to borrow the room in which they are in, to which she agrees. Hongyang asks if it is a difficult topic, to which he nodded his head as a yes, and the scene shifts where Maomao began to serve tea. Lady Hongyang decides to stay behind, saying that Maomao shouldn't be alone with him. He continues by saying a rich family has 2 daughters being close in age and similar in appearances. The girls are deeply loved by both parents, but when they came of age, their parents were very protective of them. They were not allowed to leave the house or even together. They spent all their days in their house, and the lady-in-waiting who felt sorry for them had let them out occasionally. As a result, their father found out and stationed servants at their windows to monitor them and locked them in at night so they couldn't get out. They became introverts, and they spent all day on embroidery. At some point, the sisters found themselves before their father, where the father is being made known to the news that the younger sister is pregnant carrying the child of a wizard. Hongyang brought up the question of whether it could be one of the servant men, to which Gao Shun says they weren't allowed to approach the room. Maomao declares it a conundrum, but it seems outside of her realm of knowledge. They start to discuss whether or not it's possible to become pregnant without a man, and Maomao says that the body can trick itself into believing so. Maomao continues to explain that strongly held belief can have a powerful effect on the body. She then asks Gao Shun if he is sure that the younger daughter was pregnant, to which Gao Shun says yes, then goes on to explain the problem is how she was able to sneak out past the surveillance. Maomao asks Gao Shun if he knows how they were being watched. Gao Shun then pulls out a diagram of the housing. Maomao asks where the washroom is, and Gao Shun says inside the separate building. Maomao begins to formulate in her mind a way the younger sister may have escaped. Gao Shun explains the windows on the east and south sides were also being watched. After Gao Shun answers, Maomao states that they seemed to have a very limited field view of vision concerning the sisters. Gao Shun answers that the daughters were often doing needlework by the window. Hongyang declares it's a strange hobby, but Gao Shun states that they come from a pastoral culture. The camera pans in on Maomao's face as she contemplates the fact that Gao Shun may be hiding something important, then realization dawns on her. Maomao takes a look at the diagram again and asks if the separate building was originally for guests. Gao Shun then replies, impressed that she noticed that bit of detail. As she sits there, wondering to herself, Gao Shun changes the subject and lets Maomao know that Master Jinshi sent a message wanting to apologize for the delay in delivering the ox bezoar. Hongyang notices Maomao not paying attention and touches her head. As Gao Shun holds the ox bezoar in hand, he explains that the demand for it suddenly went up, to which Maomao asks why so suddenly. Hongyang explains that Jinshi has been given many rare medicines from all sorts of people. Gao Shun nervously tells Maomao to please take the ox bezoar. Hongyang is curious about it, and Maomao explains that it is a bare gallbladder and is used for medicines for the digestive system. Gaoshan says to Maomao that he is glad she likes it. Maomao tells him to wait a moment. She then opens a box filled with small bags of medicine and pulls out an almond nut. Then, using it as an example of the two daughters, she then places it on the diagram and begins explaining the way in which the youngest daughter may have escaped. She then states how a mirror could be placed instead of a person in showing the reflection of a person as two in different spots. Maomao then deduces that one of the sisters used a reflection to trick the guards while the other snuck out. However, Maomao is curious as to how Gaoshun knows so much details on the matter, thinking he is hiding something. Maomao then receives the bear gall and is excited, but Hongyang is confused. Jinshi is in his office, stressed out about the request of a high official. Gaoshan tells Jinshi that he doesn't have to accept any request as he can see that it is burdening him. He shrugs it off, thinking of a way to fulfill the request. Later at the Jade Pavilion, Jinshi asks Maomao if she has ever heard of the story of an otherworldly beauty that sheds pearls of tears. She gives him a blank stare, confusing Jinshi, and asks him what he means. Unsure himself, he depicts a woman who dances with elegance, and when she cries, her tears turn to that of pearls. Maomao then questions him about her origins, to which he tells her he is unsure, but it's a special request from the envoy. He goes on to tell her that when they were young, their father told them of the story over and over. He tells Maomao he wants to find out some information so he can answer the diplomats to the best of his ability. Maomao then remembers the dancers of the pleasure district from 50 years ago, and her mind runs on the old lady of the verdigris house. Lady Gyokuyo is curious to know what she is like, and Maomao tells her that she could come to the pavilion any time as long as they pay her. Maomao figures that the envoy knew the woman from 50 years ago and is curious to know why Jinshi didn't find other beautiful women in place of her. Jinshi expresses to Maomao that he tried, but they were not satisfied with them and laughed them off. Maomao tries to figure out the envoy's angle and asks if the woman provided overnight services and is scolded by Hongyang. It is revealed that the envoy is a woman. Maomao understands why they would come to him, as he is a beautiful man. Maomao asks how important is this request, and Jinshi tells her that it could affect western and northern trade points. Jinshi is completely at a loss, but Maomao, witty, is able to get a meeting with Granny. Maomao asks if she welcomed a foreign envoy 50 years ago, to which she tells her yes. She then goes into a story of the old town and how it was a popular spot for tourists, so they turned it into the capital, and the rest of the land they used for a ceremonial site. She tells Maomao that she was the dancer at the ceremonial site. Maomao is curious as to why she would be selected to dance. The granny told her that she was the top courtesan in the district because of her tall build and curvy body. Internally, Maomao agrees with this. Granny tells Maomao that a lot of the dances were improvised, and they had to plan everything like phases of the moon. They went so far as to remove all of the bugs from the site, as well as lighting the torches so the setting would be perfect. She also tells Maomao that the people who were jealous of her tried to ruin her dress, but she still performed, putting her audience in awe. Maomao dismisses her story, and Granny scolds her, then shows her a painting of her when she was young, shocking Maomao. Granny tells her that the painting was commissioned by the envoy, calling it the Moon Goddess. Granny tells Maomao that the envoy never came back to the country again, but sent the painting through the caravan. Maomao tells Granny that she was just doing her job and is trying to understand why the envoy liked her so much. However, Granny is unsure. Maomao then takes the painting and shows it to Jinshi. Gaoshun tells Jinshi that they should find someone identical to the painting. Maomao deduces that it would be hard to find a woman like this and suggests that they should look for a tall woman instead. Maomao suggested that they should also find someone who has long limbs because they will look better when they dance. Maomao then tells Jinshi that she has found someone who meets the requirements, then looks oddly at Jinshi. Later we see the emperor sitting with his concubine and a girl looking at a beautiful butterfly in the field.